Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Nick Gray, and this here is the new TCL 10 Pro. Now, this phone may sound familiar since we've been hearing the name for quite some time, since it was first originally teased at CES 2020. But the device is finally ready to go on sale at a price point of $450. But for a mid-range device, this phone is actually pretty impressive. So let's do a quick unboxing and take a first look at the TCL 10 Pro. Well, here you have it. Like other recent TCL devices, you get a pretty simple box here with a picture of the phone on the front and a few highlights of the main features on the side, which include a 6.47-inch curved AMOLED display, which is something you typically don't see on a phone at this price point, and it supports HDR10, a 64 megapixel main camera, and then finally a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. Oh, and you also get 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, which is pretty impressive for a $450 device. But let's open this thing up and see what's inside. Now, I have to say, this is probably one of the tightest box lids that I've seen in a while, making this a little bit harder than it should be to open this up. Now, right on top, you get the phone and TCL's new tagline, Display Greatness. We've seen this on other devices that TCL has launched this year. Now, this is the third time that I've seen this phone, but I still have to say that I'm very impressed with the design here. It sports curved glass on the front and the back like most other devices these days, but TCL is using a frosted finish on the back. And the phone also has a unique camera layout with no metal ring around the 4 cameras, which is kind of nice. We'll take a closer look at the phone in a minute, but let's get back to the contents of the box. Below the phone is the SIM ejection tool and a silicone case for a bit of extra protection for the glass phone. It's really nice when manufacturers do this, especially since there's no real added cost to them. Next up is the phone's power cable with a USB-A connection on one end and a USB-C connection on the other. And finally, the phone's power brick, which supports Quick Charge 3.0 with 18-watt fast charging. Now, 18 watts doesn't seem extremely fast when compared to the 25 and 30 watt charging we've seen on flagship devices this year, but even with 18 watts, this phone should be able to go from 0 to 50% in just under 30 minutes. So let's get back to the phone. Again, I want to iterate how impressed I am with the design of the phone, especially considering its price point. I was hoping that they would send out the green variant, but the gradient gray with the frosted finish looks absolutely fantastic. What's also appealing about the look is that the cameras sit flush with the body with not even a hint of a camera bump. And to avoid scratching the glass over the lenses, TCL's raised up the dual LED flashes, which flank the cameras ever so slightly. As for the camera specs, you're looking at a 64 megapixel main sensor, a dedicated video low light camera with 2.9 micron pixels, a 5 megapixel macro camera, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide. As for the phone's other hardware features, on the bottom of the phone you get a USB-C charging port, a SIM card slot, and a speaker. And then on the left edge, TCL's thrown in a programmable smart key, which we'll get to in a minute. And then on the top, a 3.5mm headphone jack and an IR sensor, which can be used to control your TV or other appliances. And then on the right, you get the volume rocker and power button. And one final touch, which only smartphone reviewers will truly appreciate, is the flat bottom and top edges of the phone, which, if you're patient enough, will allow you to stand it up completely on its own. As I run through the setup process, let's touch on a few of the phone's other features. You get a 24 megapixel front-facing camera with basic face unlock security and an in-display fingerprint sensor. As for the phone's processor, it's a Snapdragon 675 with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and you do get expandable micro SD card support as well, and then of course the 4,500 milliamp hour battery. The setup process of the phone is pretty basic, but towards the end you do get the option to choose your on-screen navigational layout and whether or not you want to use TCL's Next Vision display feature, which bumps up the contrast and saturation in games, videos, and photos. And finally, the home screen layout, which includes the option for an app drawer or simply dumping all of your apps onto the home screen. As for the phone software, it is running on Android 10, so that does mean that you get a dark mode that's built right in. And like most other devices these days, you also get the Google feed to the left of the main screen. And customizing the smart key is actually pretty simple. Just press it for the first time and you'll be given the option to set specific actions for a single, double, or long press. I'm sure that we can all agree that a physical button on the phone like this that can be customized is something that every device should have. Now, so far, I've only used the TCL 10 Pro for a little bit over an hour, but this mid-range device is definitely intriguing. It'll be interesting to see how the cameras on this phone stack up when compared to other more expensive smartphones. And I'm curious to see how well the Snapdragon 675 actually holds up when playing some of my favorite Android games. Be sure to subscribe for my full review and additional coverage of the TCL 10 Pro, and leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this new mid-range device and whether or not this $450 smartphone is something that you would actually consider buying.